Have you ever looked around at people your age and felt like you were somehow older than all of them? Not physically, but mentally, emotionally, even spiritually. Maybe you've always been the old soul in the room. Maybe you were the kid who felt more comfortable around adults. Or maybe as you've grown up, you've started noticing that your thoughts, your priorities, your way of seeing the world just feels older than the number on your ID. If that sounds familiar, you're definitely not alone. And today we're diving deep into the psychology behind this fascinating experience. What does feeling older actually mean? When people say they feel older than their age, they're describing something psychologists call subjective age, the age you feel inside. And it turns out subjective age can be completely different from your actual age. Some people in their 20s feel like they're in their 40s. Some people in their 50s feel like they're 25. And this gap between felt age and real age reveals a lot about your personality, your past, and your environment. But here's the interesting part. Feeling older isn't always a negative thing. In fact, it can be a sign of emotional depth, maturity, and resilience. The challenge is understanding where it comes from and whether it's empowering you or holding you back. The roots of feeling older. For many people, feeling older starts early in life. Maybe you grew up in a chaotic household and had to become responsible too quickly. Maybe you were the mediator, the caretaker, the calm one among the storms around you. Or maybe you just naturally absorb the world more deeply than others. Kids who experience this often become adults who feel older, not because time moved faster for them, but because responsibility did. Other times it's personality driven. People who are highly empathetic, introspective, or observant often feel older because they process life more intensely. They don't just live through events, they analyze them. They learn from them. They internalize them. And then there's trauma. Emotional wounds, losses, or major life changes can age us on the inside far more than the calendar does. It's like your internal clock ticks faster because life forced you to grow before you were ready. Why some people don't vibe with their age group. One of the biggest signs that someone feels older inside. They often struggle to connect with people their age. Maybe conversations feel shallow. Maybe the things other people care about just don't matter to you. Maybe you prefer quiet to chaos or deeper friendships instead of large social circles. And it doesn't mean you're boring. It doesn't mean you're antisocial. It just means your inner world developed at a different pace. People who feel older often crave thoughtful conversations, stability, meaning, purpose, and emotional honesty. These aren't old people traits. They're traits of someone who knows themselves well, sometimes earlier than most. The silent struggles. But there's a hidden side to feeling older than your age. Because even though it can make you wise beyond your years, it can also make you feel isolated. You might feel misunderstood. You might wonder why you can't just be normal, or why other people seem to be effortlessly enjoying a stage of life that to you feels exhausting or trivial. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're not ahead. You're simply developing on a different timeline. And understanding that, fully embracing that inner timeline, is one of the most powerful things you can do. The upside of feeling older than your age can actually be one of your biggest strengths. People with a higher subjective age often make more thoughtful decisions because they think long-term instead of chasing quick rewards. They're more self-aware, more grounded, and usually more emotionally stable. While others your age might be impulsive or easily influenced, you're often the one who pauses, observes, and chooses what actually aligns with your values. That level of clarity is rare, and it's powerful. It also means you're more likely to avoid toxic friendships, bad relationships, and impulsive life choices because you feel the consequences long before they arrive. This inner maturity isn't something you consciously choose, it's something you naturally embody. But there's another hidden benefit. People who feel older often connect deeply with people who are older than them. Not out of insecurity, but because their minds feel more aligned. And those intergenerational friendships or mentorships can create massive growth and emotional support that many people never experience. The cost of carrying too much. However, feeling older can also come with emotional weight. If you were the responsible one as a child, you might still carry that responsibility today, even when you don't need to. You might struggle to relax, have fun, or let go. You might feel guilty when you prioritize yourself. People who feel older often grew up taking care of others, so as adults, they continue taking care of everyone except themselves. That creates burnout, emotional fatigue, and sometimes even resentment. And because you're used to being the strong one, you may struggle to ask for help or show vulnerability. You've built an identity around being mature, capable, and composed, so you push yourself to live up to that image, even when you're exhausted. Recognizing this pattern is the first step to freeing yourself from it. The old soul versus burdened soul. There's a difference between someone who feels older because of wisdom and someone who feels older because of emotional weight. Being an old soul means you experience life with depth, curiosity, and reflection. Being a burdened soul means you experience life with pressure, duty, and responsibility. Many people who say they feel older are actually describing the second one. And the key is figuring out which one describes you most accurately. If you're an old soul, your maturity comes from introspection and awareness. If you're a burdened soul, your maturity comes from necessity and survival. Neither is wrong, but they lead to different emotional needs. One needs space to explore and grow. The other needs rest, safety, and healing. Understanding this difference can help you stop judging yourself and start giving yourself what you truly need. Why some people seem younger than their age. Another piece of this puzzle is understanding the opposite side. You've probably met adults who seem emotionally younger than they are. Maybe they avoid responsibility or chase temporary pleasures or have trouble forming stable relationships. This contrast matters because it shows that we all have two ages, one physical, one psychological. Feeling older doesn't make you unusual. It just means your psychological age is ahead of your physical one. And that gap is shaped by experiences, environment, and personality, not biology. The freedom of accepting your inner age. Here's the good news. Once you accept your inner age, things become much easier. You stop forcing yourself to fit in. You stop pretending to enjoy things that don't resonate with you. And you stop apologizing for your maturity, your perspective, or your depth. Accepting your subjective age is not about giving up on fun or youthfulness. It's about honoring the way you naturally move through life. And when you stop fighting it, you actually create more space for authenticity, connection, and growth. Reclaiming the part of you that felt rushed. If you feel older than your age, there's a good chance some part of your life moved too fast. Maybe you grew up quickly. Maybe you skipped emotional stages other people had the luxury to experience. One of the most powerful things you can do is reconnect with the version of yourself that didn't get enough space. This isn't about acting childish. It's about allowing yourself to feel curiosity, joy, and play without guilt. People who feel older often struggle with the idea of being carefree because they've been conditioned to always be in control. But giving yourself permission to experience lightness can bring back balance. You're not betraying your maturity. You're simply reclaiming parts of yourself that were never meant to be lost. The pressure of being the mature one. Many people who feel older carry an invisible expectation to always be the calm one, the reasonable one, the fixer, the strong one. It becomes a role, almost a script you feel obligated to follow. The problem is that roles can become cages. When you always have to be the mature one, you rarely have room to be emotional, confused, spontaneous, or vulnerable. You might hide your struggles because people assume you're fine. You might avoid asking for support because you don't want to disappoint anyone. Over time, this creates emotional tension that feels like aging from the inside out. Real maturity doesn't mean carrying everything alone. It means knowing when to let others carry some of the weight with you. How feeling older affects relationships. Relationships can feel very different when your internal age doesn't match your physical age. If you feel older, you might gravitate toward deeper, more stable connections. You prefer meaningful conversations over small talk. You value emotional safety over excitement. The downside is that people your age may not be in that mindset yet. They might want adventure, spontaneity, or chaos, while you want consistency and emotional honesty. This mismatch can make dating harder, friendships more selective, and socializing more draining. But here's the truth. Your compatibility improves dramatically when you stop choosing based on age and start choosing based on emotional alignment. When you meet people who share your pace, whether they're older, younger, or the same age, connections suddenly feel effortless. The power of emotional depth. People who feel older often have a unique emotional strength. They notice things others miss. They sense moods, patterns, and intentions. They read the room without trying. This depth can make you a powerful problem solver, a thoughtful communicator, and someone others trust. But emotional depth isn't just a gift for others. It's a tool for understanding yourself. When you use your depth inwardly, not just outwardly, it helps you break old cycles, heal wounds, and create healthier boundaries. It becomes a superpower that benefits you instead of draining you. When feeling older leads to burnout. The challenge is recognizing when your inner age is creating pressure instead of clarity. Feeling older can push you into burnout if you constantly try to live up to your own maturity. You might take on too much. You might forget to rest. You might push yourself emotionally, mentally, or professionally because you believe you can handle it. Over time, this creates exhaustion disguised as wisdom. The truth is that even mature people need play, rest, and softness. Even wise people need help. Feeling older shouldn't mean feeling tired all the time. It should mean you navigate life with awareness, not weight. How to balance your inner age with your outer life. One of the most important steps is learning to balance the wise, mature part of you with the part that still needs curiosity and exploration. You don't have to choose between being the responsible one and being the joyful one. You can be both. Start by asking yourself what feels missing. Maybe you need more fun. Maybe you need more rest. Maybe you need more structure or more freedom. When you consciously create space for both sides, your life stops feeling like one long stretch of responsibility and starts feeling more whole. This balance is what allows your inner age to become a strength rather than a source of pressure. Letting go of the need to be further ahead. People who feel older often believe they should also be further ahead in life than they are. They compare themselves to people who had different backgrounds, different support, and different paths. But your journey isn't late. It's not early, it's simply yours. Letting go of the idea that you should be at a certain milestone because of your inner age is one of the most freeing shifts you can make. Success doesn't come from rushing to catch up. It comes from moving at the pace that is genuinely aligned with your inner world. If you feel older than your age, remember this. There is nothing wrong with you. You're not out of sync. You're not behind. You're not strange. You simply see and feel life with a depth that others might reach years later. Your internal timeline is valid, and your inner age is not a sign of being worn down. It's a sign of how far you've come. The real power comes from embracing who you are, honoring what shaped you, and giving yourself permission to live with maturity without losing your softness. When you accept that inner truth, everything else starts to make sense.